Mother-in-laws always get a bad rap. German Winter states, a car is like a mother-in-law. If you let it, it will rule your life. In Mother-in-law, Mary Lou Cowley discusses her relationship with her husband's mother and how it's evolved over years. Mary Lou.
Mothers-in-law. The fact that the term alone conjures up negative images says a lot. Interesting factoid. The IRS considers your in-laws your relatives for life. You can divorce your spouse, but not your in-laws. When they told us that in tax class, there was a huge rush of groans across the classroom. The only thing that everyone in that class ever agreed on was, that does not seem right. I myself have had two mother-in-laws. Always been a bit of a comparison shopper. My first mother-in-law was the classic, you married my baby and I do not want to let him go. This mother-in-law character is something that is always missed when little girls are playing dress-up wedding. No one ever says, I want to play the mother-in-law. I did have a male friend that frequently volunteered to be the bride. Funny now how that worked out. But no one ever said, please, please, let me be the mother-in-law. And then proceeded to grab the make-believe groom's ankles and be dragged down the aisle. Actually, I don't even remember the term ever coming up. Were we not told of in-laws as children? Was it too scary? Maybe. Although my first mother-in-law did think the world of me and was very proud that her son was marrying me, I was a quiet, good Catholic girl who was active in church, didn't drink, didn't smoke, good student in school. However, there was just one problem. She just didn't want to let him go. And she didn't want to live alone. And she cried a lot. She cried on holidays. She cried at doctor's appointments. Although I don't think I realized it at the time, there was a teaching lesson here. Cry, and you do cry alone. It was very hard to get to know her, and I only have one real memory with her. At the time, I had just begun dating her son, and she was making Polish pastry, which requires the beating of egg whites to very, very high peaks. It was only her and I sitting in her kitchen, and we were casually chatting, getting to know each other, and I thought she was sharing the recipe with me. I was excited, but I didn't realize it was actually a test. This many years later, I honestly don't know if I passed or not. She had beaten the egg whites to what I would say were medium firm peaks. I wouldn't have called them stiff, and she turned to me, and this normally motherly voice turned into interrogative homicide detective. Are these stiff enough? Her eyes glued to me, staring a hole through my tiny 18-year-old body. I think I quivered as I answered. And it was tough to answer. I thought they should probably be higher, but what if those were the best peaks she could make? Would I be insulting her? Suddenly, I felt my whole future life depending on this answer. Finally, I think I got a yes, with 20 question marks following it. No, it should be stiffer, she answered, and continued with the process. No other words were spoken until she arrived at the perfect peaks and pointed at them. I was married to her son for 20 years, and I still really only remember that one conversation. Now, when I met my second mother-in-law, I was still the quiet, good Catholic, albeit divorced, girl active in a church that didn't drink and didn't smoke. I was feeling pretty confident to meet her. While her son had 4 children and a somewhat dramatic ex-wife, I was family-orientated and thrilled to meet the grandchildren. Surely she would consider me such a catch, right? Wrong. A Catholic girl active in her church is not high on the list of a rather strict Baptist. She probably would have been happier had her son brought home a woman of ill repute that she could save. It is very hard to save a Catholic. And then there was the aspect of her relationship with her 4 grandchildren. While her ex-daughter-in-law was finding her missed years, Pat, my next mother-in-law-to-be, had become their surrogate mom, so much more than their grandmother. She wasn't ready for an intruder, and I was definitely not her first choice. And Pat, who her youngest granddaughter refers to as filterless, could and would say anything. The daughter of a West Virginia coal miner who became a successful independent business owner with her husband, she was strong, she was bright, she made amazing crescent rolls, but she could be outspoken. This took some adjusting. I just wasn't prepared. But then, there were the similarities. We both loved the same people. We both wanted the best for all of them, sometimes different approaches. Slowly, she realized this, and while we might have worshipped in different buildings, we worshiped the same God. And we had long talks on long car rides going to weddings out east and graduations out west. Pat was as impulsive as I was slow to sometimes. We didn't get to each other, but instead of being at war over this, we ended up balancing each other out. And when she would whip my always smudged glasses off my face to clean them for me, which at first I found a little invasive in my face and my space, I just began to expect it. And now I miss it. I don't think we are prepared to like each other. Love each other, yes, but like each other? And it was the Christmas of 2017 when we were visiting, having a wonderful time with our balanced relationship, that she mentioned she had a doctor appointment for some stomach issues. We never saw it coming. Within a month, she was diagnosed with stage 4 uterine cancer. Of course, I went into support mode because that's what you do. And Pat and I prayed together. We both shared that faith and prayer in God. Our family fought for her to live. And when it became clear that we weren't going to get that, we tried to make the best of the last days. I had hopped up into the bed with her because she was already getting too weak to sit in the easy chair. And then being a little filterless myself, I might have learned something from her. I said, you know, you're my favorite mother-in-law. And she said, and you're my favorite daughter-in-law. And then she laughed. And she said, I guess that might not actually be much of a compliment. And so we both laughed, and we held hands. And then she said, you know, I didn't always know it, but you came into my life at exactly the right time. She died a month later. I remember her often. I have so many memories to choose from. Like the time we went to see Craig Ferguson live. I had no idea how blue his show was. I did not know, I swear, okay? And I was busy apologizing, and she said with this naughty little grin, I knew he would be like this. And you still wanted to come? I miss her. I miss her saying inappropriate things. I so miss my friend that she became. Maybe we weren't supposed to be friends, but we both gave it what it took. I miss her cleaning my glasses. I'm so glad that there are mothers-in-law. And next time my granddaughter plays wedding, I'm going to volunteer to be the mother-in-law.